Okay. Hey there, Ryan Kingsline here. How you guys doing? How long has it been? I'm actually popping over here onto, let me get this so I can see the screen. I'm actually popping over here onto Facebook to make sure that you guys can see my ugly mug right there. Let me just refresh this. There we go. It is refreshing to be back on camera. Man, I have been busting my butt lately in the boot camp, the game artist boot camp. Oh, I took over a couple of the classes, and wow, that was some work. So I've been over there doing that for a bit, and the face. In the face sculpting class, I finished this first section of the face sculpting class, and it's kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about today. Just get on and kind of give back to you guys because it's been a long time. I've just been focused on the boot camp and the students over at Game Art Institute and just doing everything I can to help them grow. And one of those is this face class. All right, that's a lot of fun. So, how's it going? Give me a quick shout out. Let me know how it's going. How are you? How's life? I'm looking at this right now. Gajan. Oh, let me turn this down so we don't get a nice little echo. Hey, Alec. How are you? Lucas. Luca. Long time, Luca. Hey, Bruce. Been a while. Cool. And Alex DC. All right. Awesome. Okay, so there's a couple of things I wanted to chat about today. You see my screen? This one right here, right? In fact, let's give you this camera angle. So we're working on a likeness. It's super hard. The dude's got an awesome, awesome, awesome face with so much character, so much emotion, so much pathos in this. And this is a demo from the class that had me doing some sculpted hair. You can see the sculpted hair and some fiber mesh to give you a sense of how to do it. I kind of love the sculpted hair approach. Like, look at how beautiful that is. This week, I'm really looking forward to kind of talking to you about this and giving you a sense of it. But this isn't what I wanted to talk about today. This is not the key thing. What I wanted to talk about today is actually just this kind of stuff. Just the wrinkles. So let me get you a nicer camera angle there. You look at it, this is what I want to talk about today. How do you get all that stuff? Not how you get that, but I want to show you one of the problems that we run into when we start getting in and doing skin, and some of the small minutia that you need to start to think about to really hone this in. And I'm going to show you here in just 2 seconds. I'm looking again at the Facebook. I'm going to show you in 2 seconds the problem, and then right after that the fix. I want to talk today for probably about a half hour. I got a kids are home from spring break, and I am in the home office, so I am going to head out to a late lunch with them in a second, and we'll go from there. Sagar, this is ZBrush. Daniel, how are you? Hey, Bruce. Christopher, hello. All right. Glad to see you back. I know, yeah, it's been a while. That was Hayden right there. Nice to see you again, Hayden. All right, so here's the problem. Let's look at my screen. I am using the texturing.xyz approach, and if you come in here and look, and let's just say, let's put all the bells and whistles back on. And on my surface, it works real slow sometimes. It's got like some graphics card issues. It doesn't like ZBrush working with millions. Okay, I'm going to put these side by side, and I want you to tell me if you see anything wrong. Let's turn the layers off. There you go. All right, you see anything wrong with the one on the right? Okay, this is our before. This is our after. Okay, now the workflow that we're using, specifically the workflow that we're using is a texturing.xyz approach, and I'm using their multi-channel displacements. Okay, the multi-channel displacement, I'm not going to show you that workflow right now. You can already see it here. This is actually the green channel, the blue channel, the red channel. Okay, you love my naming conventions. And you can see each one of them has a certain intensity to it. I've already done tutorials on this in the 12 Days of Christmas. You can head over to 12 Days of Realism. You can head over to ryankingsline.com, and I walk through those there. You can also just go to texturing, and Jeremy's done some amazing work there at texturing.xyz to kind of explain all this stuff. I think there's literally nobody doing it at the level at which Jeremy's doing it right now, and the guy deserves, an award for the quality of that work, right? It's just amazing. Anyways, what do you see that's different? What do you see? I'm going to take a look and see if you can kind of spot it. Oh, wow. Super low. Yes. All right, what do you guys see? What's the difference? Here, let's get you a better camera angle. What do you see? Come on, this is full participation here. Let's see what's going on. Get your fingers typing. I'm not here to show off. I'm here to help you grow, so I want to see some growth. I'm going to pop over to YouTube real quick. And I think I have to do it this way. Hold on, I'm looking at these things on my screen, and I'm waiting here for you guys to tell me what you think is the difference. And it's very interesting to me. We'll do a little back and forth here in a moment. All right, over on YouTube, Renier, Fance, I. Garrett, Tariq. Tariq says fat pads. Renier, awesome, man. Glad to have you in the class. Tariq, it's been a really long time, hasn't it? Yeah? All right, fat pads, micro details, contrast. Okay, all these different things are all part of it. Did anybody over on Facebook get me anything? Or are you guys slacking? Uh-oh, Facebook is slacking. I don't see the comments, or something else is going on. I'm going to exit out of this and see if I can see him one more time. There we go. Hey, Florian. Hayden, left is more defined, left is more detailed and looks sharper. All right, cool. Let's take a look. Let's get in and see if we can make a little bit more sense out of this. Let me pop out of that. And we're going to stay looking at this screen. Let's clear the canvas. And again, my Microsoft Surface doesn't work all that well. Let's zoom out a little bit. There you go. Okay, I'm going to turn this on and off. On and off. Now, specifically also, if we look at this in comparison to what I really love, this one's actually quite beautiful. I love how this is. And let's just switch over to it. Turn the icon off. There you go. All right. Here I can see a lot of soul, right? Like in this image, I see a lot of Jeremy Irons. I really like it. And then I come in and I go over here and something's wrong. Something's just not looking as right as I want it to look. And it has a lot to do with how fluffy this is. All of this stuff inflated a little bit from the base mesh. And if we look at it from certain angles, we really kind of see it. It just looks like his eyes are tired, right? And if I come over here and I look at this one, that's fascinating. If I look at this one, his eyes have a little bit more soul. There you go. Okay, a little tired, a little bit not so good, and then here a little bit thinner, a little bit more soul in it. So one of the things that happens when we're doing texturing.xyz is that there's so much inflation in the surface that happens. So if I come in here and I start turning these layers off, especially that middle one, you see there's a lot of inflation. And that inflation can cause problems because it starts to make somebody look, and especially you see it in his nose. His nose starts to grow a little bit, and then it grows a little bit, and it doesn't grow too much here. And so we have to do something where we counteract that growth. And the way that we do that is we come over here to the low resolution. We basically turn everything off. Then we go to the low resolution, go to the lowest resolution there is, right? Where this is the original, there's nothing in here. And then you go in and you export this. And let's just call it delete because I'm just doing a tutorial on this. I don't want it to stay in there. So we're exporting the low res without any of these elements into it. And then we're going to go back up to our high res. We're going to go over to our layers. We're going to turn these layers back on, and you can see this bloat that happens, right? It's a tiny bit that happens, but he just suddenly starts to look a little bit more tired than usual. All right, and then I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this layer the inflate corrective. And in this one, what I'm going to do is remove the inflation that's happening. And in order to do that and to see the results of it, let's zoom in right about there. And we make sure that layer is recording. We go to the lowest subdivision level. We import that one. So I'm going to come in here and import this. And you can see what happens, right? It shrinks it in ever so slightly. It's like, hey, you just, took about 10 pounds, 5 pounds off of this guy, and then you have to go back up to the highest subdivision levels to kind of see all of that work. And there you go. And you see how everything just kind of pulls in. Voila. This small little step where it's like, okay, something's wrong, it just doesn't quite work for me. And maybe you're looking at this and you're like, Ryan, you're freaking nuts. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. They both look like they're within range. But trust me, when you get to a certain point at this, you start to see things that really other people don't see. Maybe they don't see, but you're like, this is bugging me. And this is one of the things that I have to train people on, because when you use the texturing.xyz and you get that inflate, if your numbers and the mid value is not accurately positioned, we have to correct that. So right off the bat, this is a fast, easy way to do it. But if you take a look at this, now it's still, it's okay, but doesn't it look a little boring? Right? Doesn't it look a little bit like, well, and especially if you put this up against some reference, and this is where the rubber hits the road, and this is where it's like, this is intimidating to show you. Be patient with me, all right? I'm teaching and sculpting at the same time, so it takes a lot to get these likenesses to work, and I don't want you to think that there's just some big old magic bullet in here. But what I want to do right now is show you how you go next level with the wrinkles, and it's going to be 5 minutes of work. It's really 5-10 minutes of work. But before we do that, I'm going to check in over here and see how you guys are doing over on Facebook. All right. Cool. And let's pop over here. There we go. Garrett saying definition. And how do we refresh that? There we go. Cool. Bot. And there we go. Good deal. All right. Okay. Let me show you the strategy to make this thing like next level very, very, very fast. You ready? Let's let ZBrush do its saving. Perfect. You come in with a standard brush, okay? And what we want to do is analyze our reference to see if we can understand how the fat of the skin is accumulating, where it's moving, all of that good stuff. And we're going to slowly build in deposits of fat. So if we're looking here, one of the things that helps me in the reference is I have these 8 lines that I use. I have a line called the nasal jugal groove, palpebromolar, the jugal, the nasolabial, right? There's the mentalis, okay, the marionette line. These lines are so incredibly important. Here's the mid-cheek groove, right? Is that the mid-cheek groove? It's like right there. There it is. That's the mid-cheek groove. These lines, man, are everything. If you learn these lines, it makes your life so much easier to go in there. And if you're looking at the sculpt over here, notice how everything's just a little bland. Well, it's time for me to go in and start to add those lines in and add the fat deposits. But here's one of the problems that we run into. What if I just go in and I'm like, hey, okay, let's turn... Come on. I get it. I'm going to turn this on. What if I come in, symmetry's on, just for the sake of argument, and I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going to turn this intensity down to 20, And then let's just go in and be like, okay, here's your lines, Ryan. There you go. All right. Not bad, but you can see all of the crap, right? It's too obvious, too apparent, and it doesn't have the realism that we want to aim to. So we have to learn how to create lines inside of our character. And it's not as simple as here's a line, here's a line. You have to learn how to take a line, let's say a line like this, and you break it up into the way in which pores I guess you could say pores are broken up, all right? And I'm going to give you an example of how this works, actually, because we have an image. Let me head over to Photoshop. Let me get rid of these guys. And I'm going to bring in the reference, right? Let's come into our source, assets. This is the texturing.xyz stuff. Come on. Load it up. Okay, I think I'm using multi-channel 70. I think I'm using the old guy. Let's look at the face. I don't know if it's this guy or not. But let's come into, let's look at this one. Okay, I'm only going to look at the green channel. That's going to be the easiest. Now, from this, you and I already know that there are certain lines that exist. So, for example, we know that there is a line called the nasal labial fold, right? But look at the nasal labial fold and how it is constructed. This is where people go south occasionally. You might think that there's just a line there, like there is here, right? This is quite apparent a line, or at least it seems at first glance, but it's not. Zoom in more. Come on. Zoom in even more. Even more. What do you see? I see a broken line. I see a bunch of broken things that just kind of match up. Right? Is that what you see? So now the dilemma is, how do we get that sense of broken form in our sculpt? How do we get this with all of this beautiful stuff to help us see that? And is that the only place in which that exists? Let's take a look over here in some of these guys. And if you look closer at what you might think is a line, what you end up seeing is a series of broken shapes. It's hard to see it at first, but you can even see it here where they're broken, but they've been eroded right on top of each other so much that, it's not really broken anymore. But the process is still the same for us to go in and do this. So now if I have that in my mind, and let's just show this all the way. And I know I want to go in and I want to create some wrinkles in here, and I really want to work this. Is a really cool brush you got to make sure you get. Orbs, the Orb Crack brush. You just Google that, you'll get it right away. What he did with this brush is really cool. And it takes advantage of some of the features inside of ZBrush with mid value and that particular alpha, right? This is a setting that was developed during my time working there. And then some of his other brushes make good use of this setting right here, roll distance. This is really an oddly powerful feature. And you don't normally think of roll distance without roll being on. But if you leave roll off, roll distance will still impact your brush. And it does a pretty awesome things. And that's what this brush really makes the most out of. And I couldn't recommend these brushes enough. But if we wanted to go in and kind of get in here and work this edge a little bit, I'm going to zoom in here. And this is after I've done my texturing.xyz approach, right? This is after I've built my layers. I still have work to do. I'm not done. So I need to come in and I'll set my draw size to 8. Yeah, I think 8. It's dynamic. I think that works. Hopefully I still have pressure sensitivity. And then what I'll do is use my brush in a very specific way. I kind of come back and sketch things in. It's very much like that. I'm trying to sketch and trying to break stuff up. And for the love of God, trying to avoid being too straight. Okay? So that when I go back, well, that actually works, right? But if I come and I undo that work, let's get back into the record. There we go. And now we see it, but now we've gone in and we've just added this kind of next level of edge work to it. Okay, and then we do the same thing down in these areas. Don't come in and just be like, hey, there's a line. You got to go in and be like, well, this is the palpebral molar, and let's take a look at our reference. And, you know, this is a little blurry, but I've been looking at his face for a long time, so I'm just going to kind of show you what I see. And I'm going to come in and just kind of, let's take this down to 4. Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. Okay, and then I'm trying not to be too sketchy, but trying not to be. And so there's my friend Brian Wade, who's just really awesome dude. Just a really, really awesome dude. He came in and did a class way back in the days when I was focused on UArtsy, and had some really just cool techniques that helped people kind of see these shapes better. But the key thing for me is just if you can gather that these are actually all broken, all of these shapes are broken, not linear, but it's a line that's composed of a collection of broken edges. And if you can get those broken edges and that collection intact, then you're going to have a much better representation of what's there, and you're going to slowly start to fit the face in, which is what we're trying to do. Because what Jeremy's done with texturing.xyz, that's just given us the base, and now we need to fit it. We need to live it. We need to get it lived in a bit. And that's where you got to add a little bit more juice to this conversation. And just dial this stuff in and think about these 8 lines. Let's zoom that out a little bit. We thought about the palpebral molar. We thought about the nasal labial. Okay, let's get this nasal juggle, right? And see what's kind of going on in there. And I can see the forms a little bit, you know. Sometimes also with this brush, I use it to push form in. Let me show what I mean. I'll quickly come in and very light, I just go back and forth like this. And it serves to kind of just push form back a little bit and kind of excavate the form, which I think is pretty cool. So in areas where I look and I'm like, yeah, you know, in this nasal juggle groove right underneath his eye on the left, which is his right, you see this form dives in. So I'm trying to get this sense of how this form is going to dive in and underneath. And you can get it by kind of like just inscribing this shape a little bit. And then I'll pull down. This right now, what I'm focused on is the mid-cheek groove. And in the mid-cheek groove, it's a groove, right? And there's fat in there. All stuff that I'm going to teach you in my face class. Nasal labial fat pad, medial fat, middle fat, lateral fat, right? Knowing how these guys operate and being able to identify them. So for example, if we look here, we can clearly see there's a nasal labial fat pad there and clearly see a medial fat pad there. And then we see the superior jowl fat right in here and then the inferior jowl fat. And then we get into this juggle groove. And the juggle groove separates 2 things. It separates the lateral cheek fat, really the lateral cheek fat and the lateral temporal fat that all kind of merge and come down. It separates that from these other fat pads. That's kind of the main purpose of that juggle groove right in there. And I tell you, if you Google juggle groove, you will find nada, zip, zilch and zero. I saw it in an anatomy textbook a couple of years ago. I have not seen it since. But as you can see in this guy, and as I discovered in my Jean-Claude Van Damme work, it's there. It exists. You have to be really light with this. Notice how as I'm coming over here into the side, you know, I'm super, super light. and sketchy. Gotta be very careful of making lines. And I'm gonna come in now and try to work. I'm gonna press G and try to work that. And let's lower the draw size, lower that to 6. Try to work the juggle groove. Like that. Get that pulled down. Oh yeah. Come into 8 because I want to be a little bit more dramatic right now. Lift your pen often and change your direction often. Okay. All right, so this is a little bit of a look at how you do this. And then there's one more thing I'm going to do. Then I'm going to check in and see if you guys got any questions. If you got questions, make sure you ask me questions. Okay, especially if you got questions about the class. Right here under learn.gameartinstitute.com/digital realism the face. If you have questions about this class, make sure you gather those up because I'm going to ask you guys here in a second. And let's look at this last little thing that we like to do. In fact, let's turn this on and let's just see if we did anything worthwhile or if we screwed something up. Let's turn it off. Back on. Yeah, I think we're definitely making an improvement. Okay, now I'm going to create another layer, and I'm just going to say small fatty bits. Let's just say this is normally I include this in the layer above, but this is just so you can kind of see it. I'm going to go into the standard brush. I'm going to make sure it's relatively similar settings, and I got a hardish focal shift, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start saying, okay, so fat's going to collect right here. So I'm going to start to droop that bag, that eye bag down a little bit. I'm going to start to droop eye bags underneath here a little bit. And these are small moves, my friend. Very small moves. I'm not trying to do anything substantive. I can see over here on the nasolabial fat pad, I can see there's a little bit of a gathering of fat there. Whereas here in mine, I see it relatively straight. And that's normal, because you don't see all these forms until you start getting skin in. So I'm going to start to round that fat right there. And then I'm going to start to see if there's anywhere else that I need to add a little roundness of fat. Or maybe take away, right? You can see there's definitely some being taken away in this nasal juggle groove. So I'm going to push that in. Then I'm going to add in the cheek right here. This bony part of the cheek, that's just going to give, this is just a win. If you can put some extra form in there to emphasize cheeks, you almost always win. All right, and then let's just carve out some of that cheek. That's a little much, so I need to go back in and probably press Alt to kind of pull it. There we go. All right, and then I need to come into this eye and really work that fat right there. Okay, maybe set that down to 6. And then really get these fat pads. Yeah, there you go. Get a little collection of fat going on in there. Okay, and in the fat of the eye, this is very interesting. You'll see this in people that are older, over 40, obviously, over 50 for sure. A lot of times when we're looking at lower eyes, we think, oh, it's the lower eyelid, right? And so what I teach people off the bat is, well, you got to think of the lower eyelid as 2 forms. You got to think of it as one form that conforms to the eyeball itself. Okay, and then there's another form which actually bridges to the infraorbital margin. You can imagine the infraorbital margin somewhere right around here, like that. There you go. Palpebromolar kind of helps indicate it. Okay, and so what the lower eyelid does is kind of bridge from the eyeball to that shape, and then overlap it a little bit. It's not exactly adhered to it. It has a little bit of give. Okay, now with that done and said, that's the first iteration of understanding it. But then if we go in and we dive deeper into this, you'll see that there's multiple areas of fat. One of them is what we call the lateral souph. And the lateral SOOF you can see in people where it's like this area just gets a little bit more fat than this area. And you'll see it. You'll see it definitely in older people. You'll see this distinction. There'll be A and there'll be a B. All right, so what I'm doing is just going in here, and with the standard brush, I'm just helping A exist. I'm helping this lateral SOOF have a little bit of form. And it usually moves out over the cheek, like that. There you go. That's kind of nice. Yeah, I like that. All right, cool. Now, I'm doing this again with symmetry, so at a certain point I'd turn symmetry off because the symmetry is going to diminish, what you can achieve here, so to speak. And then there's other small things that we do to really help sell this. Okay, and so one of them, and I call these the halftones, right? So if we look at the face, and let's look down at the mouth area, you see a lower lip. Right? This is the lower lip, and I teach this. This is the marionette line right there. This is the mental crease right there. Okay, but take a look closer. Do you see other forms in there? Do you see a line here and a line here? Do you see a line like that and like this? And then do you see a form moving in like that? And okay, so now this form is moving in like this, and then there's this form, and then there's this form, right? And then, oh, look, maybe this moves in this particular way. And then these guys move up, and oh, there's a form, there's definitely a form moving in like that. All right, wow, okay, that's kind of crazy, right? There's a lot more going on than we think. So part of our job, definitely part of my job is to teach you to see this. Your job is to get in there and to be hungry for more, to always want to know more about these individual shapes. So as soon as the ZBrush is done saving, let's go into solo mode. And you can see here in the lower lip, the lower what? What is that? I don't teach anatomy. If you look in there, you'll see stuff. You see, okay, I'm going to put a line in there. All right, cool. I'm going to come in there and I'm going to put a line like that. All right, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to put that line that crosses like that. And in the beginning, you just put the line in like I am, really just kind of like, oh, it's there. And then as you get stronger, you can go in and start to break it up, and you can start to kind of feed it in different ways. But now we have a more dynamic lower lip. A little bit obvious what I did. So we can come in and just kind of press Alt and work the surface a little bit, I think. Just to make that a little bit. And you can see me just working the surface. Working. There you go. Okay, in some areas it gets a little tricksy, so I come back in and I build, and you don't want to smooth, because smoothing will destroy the sculpt, and it stores it in a weird way, and so I don't want to do that. But adjust your draw size, make this thing larger. All right, there you go. And take a little bit off that chin. Okay, I also like to come in on the chin, and I get in and I start teaching, and it's like, I just want to keep talking. I'm going to show you something on the chin, and we're going to wrap this up, and I'm going to send you on your way to go out there and create some amazing sculpts. But in the chin, there's several elements that we have to be mindful of. The mentalis and the depressor anguli, okay? And then also the bone of the chin. So I like to have these three kind of shapes always in my mind. And I've already kind of indicated them to some extent, but I'm going to go in there and just kind of emphasize them a little bit. You see it now? And then there's this little bit of a gap right here that he has. Okay, and this is what we're focused on. We're just focused on going in and creating these halftones. Now, that done and said, let's turn this off so you can see, did it make any difference? Okay, get rid of that. So this is before. and this is with it. All of those little things, especially when you start putting all of the bells and whistles on there. Let's turn it off again. That's not your computer streaming it slow. It's literally my screen moving it slow. All right. And which one has more life? I shifted it up on you a little bit. But sometimes you can put too much in, right? So for example, I feel like, well, I probably over-exaggerated some elements right in here. But this one has a little bit more life to it. A little bit more stuff going on to really help sell it and bring it. And it's all these little tiny bits of fat that add up and eventually do it and really help you create that next level believable thing. Now, we'll probably need to get in here and be a little bit more aggressive about this. Hold on, my screen is really going funky. And yeah, there we go. Let's just go in and get that. Bump, 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 bump. And there you go, my friend. I like to come in here and get the superciliary arch a little more defined. I like to separate the brow. I like to come in and establish a couple more elements in there to really help this stuff kind of sit. And just emphasize certain structural elements to really make this work, and then get the bottom part of the nostril, really help that get sold. And then emphasize a little bit. Like this is what we would consider kind of contouring. If I was wearing makeup, I would put color in to emphasize certain tones or certain shapes and shades and whatnot in my face. And here I am, I'm using the sculpt to go in and just kind of be like, I'm just going to contour this a little bit and really help kind of sell it. All right, my friend. My goal today was to show you how to kind of take texturing.xyz and the wrinkles and add that little 1% that now suddenly starts to give it more life. If you've been going through this, creating pores and doing all of that stuff, and you're like, it's still not working, I'm not totally sold on it, I feel like something's wrong, like I did in the very beginning, then go in and remove the bloat and go in and add some of these wrinkles and add some of these little fatty deposits. All right, you want to learn more about this course? Head over to gameartinstitute.com. You can head over, I can just take you right there right now, gameartinstitute.com. Head over here. You go into classes, and you come right over here to digital sculpting with Ryan Kingsign. This is the class that's open right now. Should say the face, but I think they ran out of room. It'll take you right in here. This course is open, but I will be shutting it down in like 5 days. All right, so make sure that you sign up very soon if you want to get in there. I'm going to walk you through a bunch of different stuff to give you a sense of things. If you want to jump in and see what people are doing here, here's Herman has been killing it. Hannibal, look at that. This is beautiful. He's in progress on it. I'm going to shoot through there quickly because I know he doesn't want me to spend too much time on it. Josh is working through Keanu. Henrique is really getting in there and learning the foundation. This is one of the exercises that we kind of do. Joseph Zeller is getting in there and learning really deep stuff. I got Wilson that we're pushing, and it's just every little bit we're working our butt off. I like this one with Adam too, working on this. This is one of the ones that needs those fat deposits to really help this one kind of sell. Walter working on this likeness, and man, it's just really cool to see everybody going in and developing what they can do. All right, and the key is head over to gameartinstitute.com and you just go into that courses and you'll get into sculpting the face, and it's right here. This page will tell you a lot about what we're doing. So all of the modules, the anatomy, it's 2 classes built up into one. A lot of good stuff. So why don't I put my face on camera and check in with you guys. Any questions? I'm going to give it just a minute for me to go through and see if there's anything I can help with. Nazumi, that would be 13 or more days of realism now. Santiago, do you think scans will surpass the 3D artist? Santiago, it's not scans. What you need to think about is, what do they call it? Deep fakes? Yeah, deep fakes. But you probably don't want to be Googling that at work. You want to look at Facebook's codec avatar, which is, it's all AI, it's all the same thing. And it's kind of unreal what they're doing. It's amazing. And so the way that I would think about this is that it's not that what you would do is take this class and be like, I'm going to go out and get a job sculpting faces. What you do is you take this class to get better as an artist at sculpting, because all the problems that you encounter as a sculptor are here in the face. Soft, hard, process, all of that different stuff. That's all in here. That's all going to be what makes you better. Henrique, how are you? It's not a 5-head. I'm not going to mention that one yet. That's an inside joke. Scott McCall, how are you? All right, awesome. About AI used in game. Yeah, mind blown, right? It's pretty crazy what's happening. All right, let me check in over here on Facebook, see how you guys are doing, and let me exit out of that, and I think I have to go back into it. Cool. Yeah, I gotta go back into it. Big difference. Christopher, you're using it and going in Mari. Yeah, I love Mari. Todd, feed is a little dark, isn't it? Yeah, it's really dark. Satish, in one tutorial, I can't remember, the person says always sculpt on the left side. I don't know why. It won't let me see more. Andre, hey. All right, guys, I gotta head out. Take the little ones out for lunch. Have an awesome week. Make sure, remember, this course is open, and I'll try to pop in this week. It gives me an opportunity to talk to you guys, talk up the course, talk up the students, and just kind of share this journey with you as we kind of go about learning, how to be better as artists, and really kind of make a difference in our capacity, right? Here you can see I took this a little bit further, and I took my wrinkle a little bit more to heart and went a little bit slower in the development of all of this stuff. All right? This is all there in the course. Make sure you guys sign up today if you want to know more. Thank you so much for being here with me. Have an awesome day. All right. Ciao.